Alright, the Eureka High Performance is done, posted, and uploaded and everything. Now we're moving on to the second vac that I got from Habitat for Humanity that day, and that would be this bagged Dirt Devil Breeze. This is one of the newer ones. This one's a 2010, I think. So cool. This is the back door. There's obviously stuff getting under the label and whatnot, but surprisingly pretty clean. I think the original owner didn't use the genuine Dirt Devil bags, which is pretty good because the genuine Dirt Devil bags, the type used specifically, are kind of not good. But, yeah. So this thing runs just fine. It's not like it needs anything crazy done to it. It just needs, you know, bag, belt, whatnot. Apparently this little grate is broken. Bag, belt, good cleaning, all it really needs. So we shall get to work on it. I haven't fully taken apart a bagged breeze before, so I don't know what this is like compared to the bagless ones. I have owned a bagged breeze in the past. It was the slightly older. It was the older one. Don't remember when it was from. I don't think I even knew where it was when it was made or how to tell at that time, but I had a bagged breeze a while ago, but I also had a blue breeze, a F1 breeze style Jaguar, and and the red one over there. But I also had a bagged breeze that had a missing release pedal and actually I'm gonna start by taking the handle off so it stops hitting my DC-07. It was missing its release pedal, and it ran just fine, but it became a parts donor for the Jaguar because the Jaguar's old brushful decided to... No, it wasn't the Jaguar, it was my red bagless breeze that had its brush roll. It was either the red bagless breeze or the Ultra Swivel Glide bagless where the brush roll broke. I'm jogging my memory for a second. I don't remember the full story, but here's what I think happened with my old bagged breeze. I found the Ultra Swivel Glide bagless along with the Kirby G4 at a garage sale, and the dude just let me have both of them, which is cool. But apparently the Ultra Swivel Glide was used to suck up a snow globe, so it was all wet and whatnot, and the brush roll was seized, so I had to make a sacrifice, and the old Red Breeze bag ended up being that sacrifice. So I mean, if anything, these are pretty straightforward. There's apparently a lot of stuff in the bag too. Yep. We're gonna deal with that later. Apparently that's as far as this will go down. Yeah, this thing is in pretty good shape. Like I said, it doesn't look like the original owner used the genuine Dirt Devil Type U bags, which in this case was probably a really good idea because the genuine Dirt Devil Type U bags are kind of bad. But you know, it was still pretty full and it's still dusty in here and whatnot, and it needs a belt too. But other than that, it seems to everything seems to run just fine. Headlight bulb is actually pretty clean. Surprisingly. Let's take off the bottom plate and stuff first before we move down to the back of it. Well, compared to other breezes I've seen, this brush roll area looks to be in fairly good shape. The base around here is not too worn out. Brush roll itself is stiff to turn as they usually are, but nothing a little. There's a belt that's very obviously worn out. I'll replace it with a Dirt Devil style 22 Hoover 160 belt. Those just work a whole lot better. The height adjustment wheels don't seem to want to turn very well, but it looks to be in fairly good shape. That worries me a little bit. The hair wrap around the motor, especially considering what that did to the Purple Breeze, it's a little concerning, but hopefully with this different style of motor, it didn't wreak the same level of havoc on this, because then that will be declared as a fatal flaw. screw in. Overall, besides the fact that it's really hard to push and the belt was stretched out and whatnot, it seems to be in fairly good shape. Hopefully it stays that way. Classic Dirt Devil Breeze fashion, this red part of the hood doesn't like to come off. But for some reason the bagged one, specifically this one for some reason, doesn't want to recline all the way back. Never mind, it did. I will say I'm not a big fan on how this hood is on there. Might have to get a little aggressive with it. Like that. My least favorite part is having to do that kind of tactic to get stuff off, but sometimes you kind of don't have a choice. It's not like the bagless Breeze where you have these two little tabs or pins sticking out, but can't say I'm a big fan of this setup either. But everything's looking just fine for right now. There's a couple of dead spiders right there. I will say that is not fun. As someone that doesn't particularly like spiders, but is slowly adapting to them, can't say that I'm a big fan of seeing dead ones still. So like I said, this will be getting a Dirt Devil style 2022 or Hoover 160 belt, which is the same belt that the old Maytag style bagged and bagless wind tunnels used. The Dirt Devil purpose for pets, and I think the Vision, the total, not the Total Vision. It was one of the, it's a purpose for pets style one. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the red one. I think it's the Power Path. But the purpose for pets and those style of Dirt Devils use the style 22 belt. Now, some people may say, oh, the Breeze is not meant to use the style 22 belt. Well, my bagless Breeze has had a style 22 belt in it for a while now, and it's taking it just fine. I'll remove the pedal and the wheels off camera once again, since I don't want to fight with that on camera. Save you guys the trouble of having to watch me struggle with something and me having to edit it out. But yes, while the style 22 isn't meant for the Breeze or the F1 style Vax, it works a lot better than the style 22. So I will use it in the style 4 and 5 Vax. Alright. So you can see the motor unit's very much different from the bagless ones, but there's a lot of stuff that's pretty different from the bagless ones. I've found a Eureka Uno on Marketplace. I'm considering getting it because if it runs just fine, hoorah, I have the Ultima's weird twin. If it's in not good shape, then hoorah, I have parts for the Contour. Hey guys, you're not gonna believe this. This little section is actually in pretty good shape. Yeah, I can't say that the Breeze has a particularly good setup when it comes to the way the base and bottom plate mesh with the brush roll. What is this? You've got me. Yep. Okay, so there's another 2011 one. Warranty date's effective the 1st of January 2012. Model 085610. Plant IP. There's a barcode right there apparently. Zip ties. Oh, zip ties. Can't say I really understood the point of the zip ties. I mean, yeah, cleans up cable management a little bit, but in reality, who is actually paying attention to the cable management of the inside? I usually just cut it all out. I'm usually the only person that's going to see this far into the vacuum anyways, so it's not like it matters a whole lot to me. The crimp connectors that I'm not really a big fan of. Alright, so this motor has, you know, some hair in it. That's typical for a cheap bagged vacuum that only really has paper bags available. This has the Ningbo Dishang electrical motor in it, which sounds smoother than the Sanderson and Johnson Amatec style motors. Whether or not people like them the same as the Johnson and Sanderson Amatec style motors is, I don't know, but if I'm going to be entirely honest, I like the way these motors sound compared to the Sanderson and Johnson Electric motors, but I like how easier the Johnson and Sanderson motors are to service. Cords out, that's all done. I usually attempt to remove the button and the pedal for the button, but Dirt Devil makes that a pain in the ass. So, and same goes with the Eureka, is like the Max and the Boss Power Plus and most other Eurekas with the foot operated switch. So we're just gonna take the guts of the switch out. The switches are pretty simple for these anyways, so it's not like I'm undoing a crazy puzzle that I have to figure out how to put back together. I mean, it's really just, this is, you know, the actuator for the switch. There's a spring that goes inside and rests on that little contact bridge. And then the spring tension knocks little indents on the plunger with the actuator down and forces it back up, which makes the click noise. And then, yeah, pushes down contacts and whatnot. Well, I'm gonna clean some of this stuff up, well, all of it up actually, and then I'll be back when we are ready to put this thing together, which will hopefully be before the Siren Con trip. So yeah, BRB. Alright, I think we're ready to put this back together. So the old brush roll was pretty much done for, so we just got the brush roll out of the extra light that we're going to use in this. So I already got the motor unit all back together. It's pretty straightforward on how to do that. Now we're just gonna throw it all back together. Should be fairly simple. We've done this song and dance before. Maybe. Well, apparently it doesn't. At least these little screws don't like going back in all the way, so we'll do that. we're not cross-threading them. And just send it. Remember, there are 3 screws holding down the back of the bagged ones, the 2 up front and this one in the back. It appeared that I did a not so good job wiping it down yesterday, so we're just gonna do this to remove some of the extra water spots. The glass cleaner does a pretty good job at removing water spots. It's probably not the best thing out there to use, but it works really good for what it is. Now obviously this is plastic, not glass, but does the glass cleaner know that? Probably not. I have my grabber tool out because there's a bobby pin blocking the lower hose a little bit. I didn't do much to the motor off camera. I just washed the fan and the air deflector, and I seated the motor brushes and cleaned up the belt shaft a little bit. I didn't have to tear into the motor and re-grease everything that needs that kind of stuff. It'll be fine. We gotta do some stuff to the base, and we can seat it, everything in. First we start off this. When I work on a vacuum, I usually take the worst looking screws and I put them in places that are going to be hidden. Like these little screws are going to be hidden here because they're pretty crusty. Some of the other crusty ones are down here in the motor clamshell. This thing was very hard to push when I first got it, so of course we're gonna do what I like to do with vacuum wheels to make sure that it's not so difficult to push and that it's not, you know, tearing itself apart from the inside out. The wheels seem to be pretty worn out, but unfortunately there's not much we can do about it. Now, despite what some guys like FacLab may tell you, you don't actually want too much, especially on spots like wheels and whatnot, because when you introduce dust and whatnot to the area, it's gonna stick to the grease. And what happens when dust and dirt and stuff sticks to grease? It gets embedded into the grease, and some of that stuff is abrasive. And when it becomes abrasive, it starts to wear things away. So while yes, a greasy bearing is a happy bearing, sometimes you gotta make sure there is very minimal, if any at all, squeeze out, because if you have too much of it, it could possibly cause more harm than good. And it just gets real nasty when all that dirt and dust gets introduced, because it gets all grody and whatnot. Alright, now time for my not so favorite part. Well, before that, let's do a little bit of this. That's why you see me wiping the edges, specifically the edges that are gonna get exposed to dirt, possibly, because I don't want dirt getting in there and causing more harm than good. Now we gotta position everything in in all the right places. And we just gotta push. We take the hood. This little belt guard going back in. Side adjustment wheels are back in. Big wheels are back in. Albeit relatively unhappy, they're back in anyways. Because like I said, I'm using a Hoover 160 or Dirt Devil style 22 belts as my bagless breeze. The red one seems to take these belts quite well, and if the stupid package would open properly, I could fit the second belt back in there. Bottom plate. We don't need this anymore. That's the grease tube. The base plate screws can be tightened by hand because we're not wanting them to be super tight, because who knows, we might need to get back in here someday eventually. I just noticed that the bagged breeze uses a completely different bottom plate. So I might actually switch out bottom plates. Maybe. Maybe. I need to do that, but it's gonna bother me if I don't, so. Apparently the bagged breeze doesn't incline all the way either. At least this one doesn't for some reason. And of course, because it works, in most cases it does, at least. Takes a little bit of force to make it work, but eventually it's gonna fit. Bam. For some reason on the swivel glides, it's much easier to fit it on. On the breeze and the bagged feather lights, for some reason, trying to fit a business style 7 HEPA bag on is not easy. So we're actually going to fit on the handle and the tool caddy before we go any further with that bag. It's not helpful when my screwdriver go. There it is. Alright then, that one doesn't want to tight over here. And the handle is on, which you didn't see very well because my camera is not high enough to capture the whole bench, but it's on. So, now we'll flip it back around. Cool. Now that that's all back together, let's put our attachments on and our hose so that we can now our machine is back together. So let's go test this thing. Alright, let's test this thing. That's the brush roll that's making that bearing noise. Other than that, I'd say this runs quite well. Very nice. Well, folks, it's gonna be a little bit before I can get another video out because I'll be in Wisconsin for SirenCon 2025 until next Tuesday. So, yeah. I probably won't be uploading any videos from SirenCon because there'll probably be like 50 different people taking their own videos of it. And once you see 2, you've probably seen all of them. So that'll be that. But yeah, another vacuum saved from who knows what. I'm Jack's Vax Safety. Thanks for tuning in. I'm signing out, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.